What was the Earth like after dinosaurs? Alright, let's rewind to around 66 million years ago. You're a dinosaur, just minding your own business, stomping around, when boom! Meteor crashes. You, dead. The Earth? She was a hot mess. That's exactly what happened 66 million years ago, when a 6-mile wide asteroid, basically a space rock the size of a city, came crashing into what is now Mexico. 1 minute, T-Rex was king. The next, eviction notice served. We've all heard about how the asteroid wiped out the dinosaurs, but what actually happened after? How did the world recover to become what we know today? And did any animals actually survive? So here's the thing. As the OG apex predators fell, a new class of creature began to rise. Earth just wasn't mourning the dinosaurs. It was setting the stage for the craziest comeback story in history. We're not talking about Napoleon Bonaparte. Moving on. So, we're talking about 66 million years ago between the Cretaceous and the Tertiary eras. The dinosaurs were having a bad time, but let's talk about how bad it was. The asteroid? It hit with a force of 10 billion atomic bombs. That's 10 billion. Let that sink in. The explosion sent debris flying into space, ignited planet-wide wildfires, and blocked out the sun for months, maybe even years. Earth turned into a post-apocalyptic wasteland, where fire, darkness, and freezing temperatures took turns wrecking everything. First, it was heat stroke mode. Firestorms swept across forests, roasting anything that wasn't already vaporized. Then, a freezing blackout as dust and soot blocked the sun, dropping temperatures to ice-cold levels colder than that situation ship that ghosted you. And just when you thought things couldn't get any worse, acid rain. Oh yeah. Clouds filled with sulfuric acid rained down, poisoning water sources and making survival an absolute nightmare. By the time the chaos settled, about 75% of all life on Earth was gone. 75%. But here's where it gets interesting. The tiny, overlooked creatures were the real winners. While the T-Rex and Triceratops were toast, small mammals, tiny rat-like creatures, hid underground, feasting on insects and plants while the world burned. Their ability to adapt to extreme conditions gave them an edge in survival, and as Earth slowly recovered, with no large predators left, these little survivors started multiplying like crazy. Meanwhile, who else was chilling in the wings, waiting to rise? Surprise! Crocodiles! They survived like absolute champs. Some species barely blinked at the apocalypse, because apparently crocs are built for end-of-the-world scenarios. Let's not forget the giant flightless birds, which would later become Earth's top predator for a while. Yep, the age of dinosaurs was over, but the era of madness, just getting started. Alright, so the dinosaurs got evicted, and Earth was basically a smoldering space ball. But nature? It doesn't waste time. Welcome to the Paleocene epoch, where the leftovers of the apocalypse started rebuilding the world, one furry scampering step at a time. The Paleocene was the first geological epoch of the Cenozoic era, following the mass extinction event, and lasted from about 66 to 56 million years ago. This epoch is significant because it marks the beginning of the recovery of life after the catastrophe and a time of major evolutionary changes. First off, let's talk about the real MVPs of this era, the mammals. Remember the rats? Before the asteroid, these little guys spent most of their time avoiding getting chomped by dinosaurs. But the moment the big guys got wiped out, mammals were like, let's go! Early mammals started evolving into all kinds of weird and wacky forms, from tree-climbing insect munchers to hoofed herbivores that looked like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. The biggest change? They got bigger. Without T-Rex stomping around, mammals expanded in size, leading to what would eventually become the first wave of giant mammals. And speaking of taking over, birds didn't sit back and watch. With the dinosaurs out of the picture, it was the birds' time to shine. Ever heard of terror birds? Yeah, they were giant flightless carnivorous birds that basically said, we'll take over where the raptors left off. Some of these nightmare birds grew up to 10 feet tall, ran at terrifying speeds, and could slam their beaks in the prey like a sledgehammer. So, while mammals were getting comfortable, the terror birds were out running the metaphorical streets. The Paleocene was a wild time, but it was just the beginning. Because the real madness, that was coming in the next epoch. If the Paleocene was mammals just warming up, then the Eocene epoch, 56 to 35 million years ago, was their full-on takeover. This was when mammals went big, weird, and downright ridiculous. Some of them grew to monstrous sizes, some of them took to the oceans, and some just became nightmare fuel. Enter Barry Lambda, a classic Eocene mammal that looked like a bear but ate plants, and looked generally confused about its own existence. But herbivores weren't the only ones bulking up. Predators also leveled up in this era, and none were more terrifying than Andrewsarchus, the largest carnivorous land mammal ever. Imagine a kind of wolf, rhino, warthog thing, but really angry. Yeah, Andrewsarchus was basically the T-Rex of the mammal world. Next, welcome to the Oligocene epoch, about 33.9 to 23 million years ago, where things got real. The biggest change? The planet started cooling down. And not just a little chill. We're talking major ice age prep mode. The reason? Continental drift. Australia and South America started pulling away from Antarctica, which cut off warm ocean currents and let Antarctica become a frozen wasteland for the first time. Grassland started taking over, which meant herbivores had to evolve or starve. Say hello to some of the first proper grazing mammals, early relatives of horses, deer, and camels. They developed longer legs, better teeth for grinding tough plants, and speed to outrun predators. Speaking of predators, they also leveled up. Some of the most terrifying carnivores of all time showed up in the Oligocene, including Hynodon, a wolf-like killing machine with a bite force that could crush bone like potato chips, and Entelodon, aka Terminator Pig, a giant, nightmarish pig beast that could chase down prey and bite with the power of a wrecking ball. Meanwhile, in the oceans, whales decided bigger was better. Some of their ancestors grew over 60 feet long, turning the sea into a prehistoric traffic jam of massive, hungry blubber missiles. And let's not forget primates. By now, they were smarter, faster, and better adapted for a rapidly changing world. Some early monkey species appeared, setting the stage for, well, us. But the party wasn't over yet. Earth had one more major shakeup coming. And what happened next set the stage for the rise of modern animals. Alright, by the time we entered the Miocene epoch, 23 to 5.3 million years ago, Earth is finally starting to look familiar. Grassland spread like crazy, forests shrank, and mammals had to get creative. And this was the time when some of the most recognizable animals of today made their debut. First, let's talk about the mega herbivores. This was the golden age of big grazers. Deer, antelope, early giraffes, rhinos, and even the first elephants appeared during this time. And they had one mission: eat everything. But that also meant predators had to step up their game to take them down. Enter big cats, bear dogs, and some of the weirdest hunters in history. Meanwhile, the oceans were getting crowded. With lots of food around, this is when the first modern whales and dolphins truly thrived. Guess who else was making moves? Our primate ancestors. This was the era when the first great apes appeared, setting the stage for the evolution of early humans. By the end of the Miocene, Earth was officially done with prehistoric chaos mode and was starting to look like the world we know today. But what came next changed history forever. Alright, buckle up, because now things are getting personal. The Pliocene, 5.3 to 2.6 million years ago, was when Earth's VIP guests, our early ancestors, finally walked into the party. But before we talk about us, let's talk about the world they had to survive in. The Pliocene was still cooling down. Ice caps at the poles were expanding, sea levels dropped, and forests kept shrinking while grasslands took over. This meant that animals had to adapt or get left behind. So who thrived? Mammoths? Yep, these giant furry elephants made their debut, stomping around like they owned the place. Saber-toothed cats. Because, of course, nature decided that big cats needed dagger-sized teeth. Giant sloths. Imagine a modern sloth, but the size of an SUV. And then, there were the hominins, our distant relatives. The Pliocene was when the first real bipedal hominids started walking around, acting all important. One of the most famous? Australopithecus afarensis, aka Lucy. Lucy and her buddies weren't exactly out there building skyscrapers, but they were doing something even more impressive: walking on two legs, using tools, and setting the stage for humans to take over the planet. By the end of the Pliocene, Earth was on the edge of a massive shift. A new era was coming, and this time, humans were ready to take center stage. Early humans, like Homo erectus and later Homo sapiens, weren't just surviving. They were mastering the game. They used fire, built tools, and even started hunting mammoths in groups. Literal slay. And by the end of the Pleistocene, humans have spread across the globe. Civilization was right around the corner. But before that, something big happened. A final, mysterious event that wiped out most of the Ice Age megafauna. What was it? Climate change? A comet? Overhunting? Scientists are still debating. But one thing is for sure. By the time the next epoch began, humans were officially running the show. Welcome to the Holocene epoch, aka the age of humans, cities, Wi-Fi, and whatever else is happening on the internet. 11,700 years ago, after the last ice age ended, Earth warmed up, glaciers retreated, and sea levels rose. With the big, scary megafauna mostly gone, humans were like, alright, time to build stuff. The Holocene is where we figured everything out. Agriculture, we stopped chasing animals and started growing food. Civilizations, we built cities, invented writing, and created governments. For better or for worse. We went from stone tools to the internet in the blink of an eye. And let's not forget, we started changing the planet in ways no other species ever did. We sent people to the moon. And, we started messing up the climate. Earth went from dinosaurs ruling to mammals taking over to us generating AI. Talk about crazy comeback story. For more prehistoric yapping, check out our other videos and hit the subscribe button. And as always, stay curious, fossil files.